So, as Professor Fajria says, that explained you regarding regression and correlation, and now I am going to explain some other part of the data analysis. Okay, so mainly this correlation belongs to this descriptive data analytics part. Okay, one of the methods of our descriptive co-analytics, data analytics. Okay, so the other methods are cluster analysis and factor analysis. Factor analysis will be explained later on, maybe in the next day. Today I will explain you about the cluster analysis. Okay, and what is descriptive analysis and other data analytics types has been explained to you in the last class. Hope you have understood all these things. If you have any query, you can still ask me. So next is going to the cluster analysis in detail. In this cluster analysis, we will try to learn about this partitioning approach, hierarchical approach, density based approach, and fuzzy approach mainly. Okay, but first at the beginning, I am going to start with this partitioning approach. Okay, before starting that any of these approaches, let's consider some of the situation. Okay, like for example, in a marketing scenario where the marketers help the marketer discover distinct group of their customer base and then use this knowledge to develop a target marketing program. That means you have a, say for example, you want to find the nature of the customers. Okay, that their buying nature, their presence in the market, that is another nature. Based on this nature, you can develop some strategy for selling some items or giving some promotions to the customer. This is one scenario. So you have to group the customers based on their, maybe for example, their the items they are buying, or maybe the time when they are coming into the market. Okay, another one is land use, like identification of area of similar land use in the earth observation database, or insurance identifying the group of motor insurance policy holder with a high average claim cost. Say for example, identification of area of similar land use will help you to say for example, in case of cultivation, will help you to form a specific product or specific seed in that particular region. Okay, so identifying that particular group based on different characteristics will help you to do that. Similarly, in case of insurance, identifying the group of motor insurance policyholder with a high average claim cost. So, if you can identify the group of customers or group of insurer who are claiming very frequently or claiming in a high amount, then you can do some policy change in the insurance company, then so that the company will not be in the fault side, or will not have will make more profit from the customers. Okay, so if you look at all this application, then one thing is common is grouping the objects, or you can say the grouping the some here grouping the customers, here grouping the land, here grouping the customers, here also grouping the city locations or city or the house types, here grouping the some locations of the earth. So every time you try to group something, and every time you don't have any proper prior knowledge of the existing customers, that who have the similar behavior. You don't have that, you have some set of data, and based on that you try to group the customers. Okay, so this is the scenario, or these are the applications where you need to group some set of uh, objects. Okay, so That's why this is called a grouping, a kind of grouping analysis, or you can say a cluster analysis. Cluster is also a one synonymous like grouping, so that's why it's called cluster analysis. Since you don't have any prior knowledge that which customer belongs to which group or which land belongs to which group, that's why this is called unsupervised learning problem. No prior knowledge is present on the data. Okay, next is used mainly for finding patterns, like finding group of customer based on their behavior, like as I explained in the last slide. And many existing clustering algorithm presents in this domain, but you cannot choose a particular algorithm for all this type of application whichever I have explained you in the last slide, like for example grouping spatial data, grouping temporal data, or grouping some customer data. You cannot use a particular algorithm for all set of data. If you have like if you can run the algorithm, that is different thing, but finding the meaningful information from the algorithm's output, that is not universally present for any particular algorithm. So for a particular set of application, you have a particular algorithm, particular set of application, a particular kind of application algorithm which you can run on that particular application. Okay. So evaluation of identified customer is subjective and may require domain expert. As I said, that not all the algorithm, like if even if for example like a well-known algorithm came in, you can try to run almost most of the domain, but the output whatever you will get from the came in is not widely acceptable for all the application. Okay, and the output whatever you will get, whether this is good or bad, for that this needs domain specific knowledge, and that's why domain experts are required to help you that whether the output whatever you have generated is good for the application or not. Okay, next one is within a cluster, member of the objects have the high similarity. So whenever we try to group some set of some set of students, say for example there are like 20 students in this class, in this big data class. Now if I want to if I try to find out the some, say for example three groups belongs to this three groups from these 20 students. So based on their country. Okay, say for example then I will try to find the data collected from you, like different like place. I don't have any continental information like which country or sorry which place belongs to which location or which country. Say for example I don't have any prior knowledge, but if I ask you different other parameters like your food habit, your dress, your type of dresses you use for your daily life, and for example your different regular activities, daily activities, then from that I can group those these 20 students into three different groups, and each of these group may belongs to one country. Okay, so based if when say for example students from Indonesia, if I form a group, then that particular group of students have very high similarities among them, and that's why I formed the group. Okay, so within a cluster the similarities of this of those members must be high, and the students from Indonesia and students from India or Malaysia may must have the lower similarity between these two groups. Okay, and also maybe in another way you can say high dissimilarity between the group. Now a good cluster, how you can say a clustering is a good clustering methods. A good clustering method will produce high quality cluster with high intra-class similarity and low inter-class similarity. So if you can define a method which can give you the member of a clusters with high similarity and member between the cluster with low similarity or high dissimilarity, then you can call that clustering methods is a good clustering method. Okay, like in case of classification, you have classification accuracy. As much the accuracy is, you can say the classification method is good. Okay, the quality of a cluster depends on the similarity measure used by the method. Okay, and the clustering membership value, when you say for example among these 20 students, when I try to group them into 3 clusters, I have to find out that which student belongs to which group and not from another group. When, say for example a particular student X belongs to Indonesia and not belongs to India or Malaysia, I have to specifically define that whether it is belong to that country or not. So it is hardly defined that it is either 0 or 1, belongs to one group or not. There is another type of so that's why this is called hard clustering. Okay, the normally usually we the clustering we use is the hard clustering we know. Okay, there is another type of clustering that is called soft clustering, where we can say we say it a membership value that a particular student X belongs to Indonesia and also belongs to, say for example, India. Okay, so it's not possible that a particular student belongs to both group in the same like 1 and 1. It's not possible. So what is how you can define that, that a student X belongs to Indonesia group is with 0.8 or 80% 80% membership values belong to Indonesia, and 20% membership value belongs to Indonesia Indian group. So what we can say, that that particular student X is softly classified, and that cluster he belongs to 80% from 80% similarities with the members in the clusters Indonesia, and 20% similarities between the cluster members in India. So that's why it's called soft clustering. Okay, where the membership value belongs to multiple, more than one cluster, and that membership value summation of all the membership value is equal to 1. Okay, so there are different approaches, as I said, that partitioning approach, where you try to like it's like divide approach. Okay, you construct various partitions and then evaluate them by some criteria, that you have 20 students, you arbitrarily divide the students and then try to evaluate that whether the partition is good or not. If not, then for which reason you are not having a good cluster or good partition, try to find out and then reallocate them, and again do the same process again and again until you don't have a good cluster, okay, or a good partition. Next one is hierarchical approach. Create a hierarchical decomposition of the set of data or objects using some criteria. Okay, that means say for example okay, if I consider this set of students here presents here. Okay, say I try to collect the food habit. Okay, and different like as I said, dressing sense and also daily activities, all these things I try to collect from all these 20 students. And what I will do, I will try to group them of each of these activities and try to organize them in a hierarchical manner. A better example can be like a species distribution of the earth. Okay, like bird has different species, so one particular bird has belongs to the particular species, and that particular species belong to different groups. Okay, like this way, if we group them, then at the top it is like a universal cluster, and at the bottom it's like every individual member or the element of the set. Okay, so that's why, and in between it groups in a set, you group them all those members. Since there is a hierarchy, so that's why it's called hierarchical approach. I will come with some better explanation, better pictorial representations of this approach. Next is density based approach, where it's like based on the connectivity and density function, where you have to calculate the density of the members present in a particular cluster, and based on that you try to find out the clusters. Grid based approach, where you have granularity structure. We will not cover these things here. And another one is the fuzzy approach. It's like the soft clustering. As I said, that item can be a member of more than one cluster, where each item has a set of membership coefficient corresponding to the degree of being in a given cluster. So as I said, the soft clustering. So how to do that soft clustering? That can be done by this fuzzy approach. Okay, that's why this soft clustering can also be named as fuzzy clustering. Okay, so uh, I will try to cover this all these methods, like under partitioning approach, k-mean and k-medoid, especially k-mean, and I will just give you the similarity with k-mean and k-medoid so that you can understand, but not in detail about the k-medoid, but you can understand with the k-mean. And then one hierarchical approach, density based approach as a DB scan, and fuzzy approach is fuzzy c-mean approach. Okay, fuzzy c-mean algorithm. But for today I will cover up this partitioning approach, and we will give you some or we will show you some exercise or some examples with Python, okay, in Google Colab, and then we'll give you some exercise to solve at home. Okay, so next, coming to this partitioning approach. As I said, you have a set of data, and you try to partition the data, and then evaluate the partition, and then you say whether the partition is good or not. If it is good, fine. If it is not, then you have to redistribute the partition elements among those partition, and then you can evaluate this. That is the basic concept of this partitioning method. So, partitioning method construct a partition of a database D of n objects into set of k clusters. So this k is as per your requirement. Given a k, find a partition of k clusters that optimizes the chosen partitioning criteria. K mean, each cluster is represented by the center of the cluster, and k medoid, each cluster is represented by the object itself. So in case when you try to partition the objects, say for example these 20 students belong to this class, if I try to partition them into 3 cluster, then it's not that all in case of k mean, it's not always true that the center of the group belongs to a particular student. But in case of k medoid, that a particular student belongs represents that particular cluster. But in case of k mean, it's not that particular class student represent the particular cluster. Okay, so the k mean algorithm now. So usually discovers spherical clusters. Okay, we will see the first step here. Choose a random number of centroid, okay, in the data set. So if I give you this 20 set of 20 students data set, say for example I have five different set of attributes, okay, I collected from each of you the value of those 5 attributes, and I choose not 3 but to divide them into 2, okay, or maybe 4. So that will be randomly chosen, that how many clusters I need. That is based on the requirement maybe, or arbitrarily chosen. Okay. There are some specific methods for that. I will come after few slides. Now the second thing is, so that first thing is you have to provide the value of the number of partition you want to create. Second thing is choose the same number of random points on 2D canvas as centroid. Okay, number of random points in the on the 2D canvas, so that you can create or you can assign them in a particular cluster, okay, or particular partition. Next thing is calculate the distance of each data point from the centroid. Okay, So now you try to calculate the distance. There are many distance measures are available, like Manhattan distance, Euclidean distance. If you know, then it's good. If you don't know, then you have to study little bit. And for the coding, these distance functions have already been implemented. You can also implement your own distance function in any language, and you can use them in your code. Okay. So those distance functions help to calculate the distance between the cluster center and the other members of the set, and then allocate the data point to a cluster where the distance from the centroid is minimum. Okay, so the minimum where the distance are minimum. So for example, if I try to create a distance matrix between these 20 students, and I have a location at say for example, just for understanding, I have a cluster center at city Kolkata and one cluster center at Jakarta. Okay, so what will happen if I try to map the distance between or try to calculate the distance between the member of this class and the Calcutta city and the Jakarta city? Then what will happen, the students from India will have less minimum distance with that point, and students from Malaysia and Indonesia will have minimum distance with Jakarta city, right? So what will happen, I automatically all the students from Malaysia and Indonesia will belong to that particular cluster which represents Jakarta city, and all the students belongs to India which represents belongs to this Calcutta city which represents another cluster center. Okay, and then if say for example there are some students in this class who belongs to like Myanmar, or say for example Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, all these places. Okay, then maybe when you try to calculate the distance from those students places to Kolkata or Jakarta, then there will be a chance, or there will be a situation where those students also belong to this Kolkata city, not to that Jakarta city. So in that way, you have to again recalculate. Then you have to move this cluster center from Kolkata to somewhere near to like Bangladesh, and from Jakarta city to somewhere like Kuala Lumpur. Okay, and then again try to calculate the distance and assign the member of this class into those clusters. And when you find no clustered center changes, and you can say that the clustering is almost done, and you can provide the group that these are the two clusters I have created, and one belongs to this Indian continent, another one is the Indonesian part of this country. Okay, so like this way we do the k-mean clustering method. Okay, and that is like in a repeated manner you have to do the all these three steps. So for example, here a pictorial representation of the same explanation, where you have set of data. Okay, and arbitrarily I have chosen this two points in the region in the matrix or in the grid here. Okay, and then I have to assign each of these objects to the similar center. Okay, I have to calculate the distance with between this cluster center and all other points here, and then whatever the distance with whatever the distance is minimum for a particular point. So for example, this point has a distance with this and has a distance with this, so the minimum distance is for this, so I will assign this data point here. But for this, the minimum distance is so but if you see like a from the graphical representation, then you can see that this is kind of middle portion between these two. You have a distance with this point and you have distance with this point, and which are almost equal. Visually you can see that. So if you if you calculate the distance between these two, between this one and this one, and between this one and this one, then there is a chance of having this one into this cluster. Okay, Now after assigning all these points into this two cluster center, okay, you can form a cluster like this. Okay, now updating the clusters means, then you there is a way, say for example, calculate the distance between each of these, and then change the cluster center from this place to this place, and here from this place to this place. Okay, and again calculate the distance between this point to all other distance, all other points, and try to reassign them, and then the cluster, instead of this, now the cluster looks like this. So this point which belongs to this cluster at the beginning, now this point belongs to this cluster after the recalculation. Similarly, this point belongs to this cluster center, and not from this cluster. So this way it will repeat in a when you do the practicals, or when you try to do the clustering operation for a particular cluster, for a particular set of data, then you have to follow these things in any particular language, and you can get the output of that particular set of data. Now there are problem with the k-means. Okay, the first problem is depending on the initial value of the centroid chosen. That say for example, instead of choosing Kolkata and Jakarta as the cluster center, I may choose two city like Jakarta and Kuala Lumpur. Okay, two city. Then there will be a problem to create the group, because the students belong to Indonesia, Bangladesh, or Myanmar will have a problem to assign in a cluster, even if we if we can assign them in a particular cluster, then uh, then having the similarity between those members will not be satisfied. Okay, because I said that similarity structure, similarity measure between the cluster members of a particular cluster must be high, but in this case that will not be satisfied. Okay, so for this there is a Forgis methods are present is present, which you can use for initial value of cluster center. Okay, and for this what we choose in this method, choose one of your data point at random as an initial centroid, like as I said, k-medoid algorithm, where you have center belongs to any of the center represented by any of the member. Similarly here the center, I at the beginning it's not random, it is random but not arbitrarily, but from the member of the group. Okay, so what will happen in this case, when I will choose the cluster center, I will choose a location from all the students present from India. From their current location, I can choose a location as the cluster center, and from all the students belongs to Indonesia and Malaysia, any one of those students can be students location can be chosen as a cluster center. Okay, instead of choosing randomly Kolkata and Jakarta, there will be some basis for choosing that location. Okay, that is another one example of having a solution of this problem. Next problem is we have to manually define the number of centroid. As I said, in this course, primarily if you look at the value, or the look at the parameters, then you can see that actually this set of students belong to several countries. Okay, but since we have chosen two cluster center, that's why it gives you two groups. But if you choose 4 or 5 cluster centers, it will give you 4 different or 5 different groups, and that 2 or 3 different groups may belongs to the same country but having different nature. Okay, so there is no hard and fast rule we have used to choose the number of centroid, but there is a way of having this choose to choose this number of clusters, number of center for a particular set of data, and that is by using WCSS method, which is called within cluster sum of square. Okay, so it is a sum of square. Sum of square, square of what? Square of the distance. So the square sum of square of the distance between the cluster center and the point or the members. So within cluster, say for a particular cluster, you have to find out the square distance and make the summation of all the square distance for a particular cluster and try to minimize that WCSS. Okay, so for example, in this case, okay, you have three different clusters. So for this cluster, you have to find out the within cluster sum square distance. For this cluster, you have to find out the within cluster sum square distance. For this cluster, you have to calculate the within cluster sum of square distance, and then do the summation of all this value, and then plot in this graph. So in this graph, this calculation will give you a value like this. Okay, and let me move this one. So okay, say for example here, so and say in case of 3, you have a particular value like 1000. When you have number of clusters, say for example 1, you have a some square value is like 8000. So when you have a particular clusters number of cluster is equal to 2, you have 3000. So like this way you have to do a set of operation, set of iteration with different cluster number, and then at some point of time you will see that this sums within cluster sum of square will not decrease much, or will gradually having the almost similar values. Okay, so in that point, in that particular point, you can say that this number of class 3 is the or that particular number along the x-axis is a good number of cluster which can classify the data set in a better way. Okay, we will see with the practical examples. So next problem is sensitive to outliers. So if you have, say for example, in the previous case, sorry, so outlier detection and removal method for that. So if you have a outlier, say for example, here in this class, say one student belongs to Austria. So what will happen, that student is very far from the other member of the class, or the location of from the students where from where they belong. The one particular student is located in Austria. So that the distance of that students with the cluster center will have a effect and have a tendency to the students move the students towards the towards like Southeast Asia, or not Southeast Asia, but like Western, like in the Dubai or somewhere in the Turkey, to move that cluster center towards that region. Okay, because in that way you can minimize the within cluster sum square distance. Okay, so the outlier will have a effect on the plastic clustering. So for to solve this, you have several outlier detection and removal methods. There are many such methods are available where you can identify that which particular member have a very different nature and can be identified as an outlier, and you can remove them, and then you can do the operation for of k-mean clustering or any other clustering operation. Okay, one more solution is k-medoid. Instead of taking mean value, of the objects in the cluster reference point, midweight can be used, which is the most centrally located object in the cluster, and then in that case that the far located person who is belongs to that Austria will have less chance to be a cluster center, and the cluster center will always be in the member who belongs to that India region. Okay, so now an example or exercise of having where you can apply k-mean clustering to solve a particular set of data. So use the k-mean algorithm and Euclidean distance to cluster 8 data points, these data points, okay, 8 data points into 3 clusters. So you have a x1 to x8 data points with these coordinates. This is x and y, this is x and y value, this is x and y value, like this way. Now if you plot this data, it can be like, looks like this. Okay, these 8 data points, and the Euclidean distance matrix is given here. So if I ask you to find out the clusters between this data set, okay, or divide this data set into 3 clusters, okay, then what will be the clusters and who are the member of that particular 3 clusters? So that you have to find out. So for example, the initialization I have done here, that as per the Forgis method, that in one of these methods members will represent the cluster center. So I have used this x3 as the cluster center for 1, x4 for cluster center of 2, and x6 is as a cluster center of cluster 3. Now your task is to solve this problem, and this is an assignment of this class. Okay, you have to submit the assignment in the Google Classroom, and then I will give you the answers. If there is any good answer as received, I will provide that as a sample case, else I will provide you the answer. Okay, so this is up to now as far as k-mean clustering is concerned. So here is a Jupyter. I will provide you this Jupyter notebook in the Google Classroom. Okay. So here basically I have these two model of k-mean model 1 and 2. I will show you this k-mean 1 at first, and let's see the time, if the time permits I will help show you the another model. Okay. So these are the libraries, the basic libraries you have to import to apply or to develop a clustering model, a k-mean clustering model. Okay, NumPy, Panda, Matplotlib. NumPy and Panda for handling the data, Matplotlib for plotting the data in a graph, and this dataset sklearn dataset for having a dataset as a sample for doing the k-mean clustering, and the k-mean algorithm itself, which is present in the sklearn on dot cluster. Okay, I will show you that where you can find it and how you can use that thing. Say for example, go to the link here which is present here. Okay, and this show you the data set. Now I am going into this API. When you open this scikit-learn.org and go to the API page, and then you will find in the left hand part here that sklearn.cluster as a clustering methods here. So here you will find lot of clustering. Remember this DB scan I said under the density based. Okay, there are hierarchical algorithms are also available. Okay, this agglomerative clustering, what is agglomerative, that I will explain maybe later on, but this is one kind of hierarchical clustering. Okay, so you can choose any one of these methods. So for example, let's use the k-mean algorithm. Okay, it is present here. Okay, So just clicking on any of that particular algorithm to know more in detail. Okay. In this k-mean cluster, you have n clusters, so number of clusters by default it is 8. Okay, but you can assign some value as per your requirement. Init k-mean plus plus. So init k-mean is the number of no sorry here the methods for of initialization, how you want to initialize the cluster center. So you first decide how many clusters, and then what is the cluster point, that what is the way of assigning that cluster center, that is that this way method for initialization. By default this is k-mean plus plus methods will be used, and what is the k-mean plus plus, that is given here. And init, the number of time the k-mean algorithm will be run with different centroid seed. Okay, so this way you can assign there are some different here. If you don't mention any of these parameter, the default value which is present here will be considered as a parameter value. Okay, and the algorithm will run. Let's go ahead with the example. So from sklearn.dataset you have to import the database make blob. Okay, and make blob, how the make blob looks like, it looks like this, where you have number of samples, you have collected 10 samples or 10 data points. Okay, and 3 cluster centers which are present in this cluster, in this blobs which you have defined by means specifically, and number of features, two number of features 1 and 2. Like this way you define and the database will be created. Okay, so first run this one and run this one next. Now this is quite very small one. So here a 300 data set is 300 sample data has been created with the make blob function, and with two attributes. Okay, by default it is number of feature is 2, but see here we have not used any number of features, but still it will it gives you. So if I print this x, you will see that number of features are 2. Also you can find it by using this shape method of this data points. Okay, so where you can see that this shape is 300 by 2, that means 300 rows and 2 columns are present. Now if you plot the data set, okay, so I am just commenting this part. If you plot this, then it looks like the data point, these 300 data points belongs looks like this in the two-dimensional plot. Okay, in a scatter plot. Now the thing is, uh, these 300 data points which have two columns belongs to which data points belongs to which cluster center. So because I have mentioned here two cluster center, like here I have specified 3 cluster center, here you have 4 cluster center. So these numbers from 0, 1, 2, 3, these 4 numbers represents the particular class, particular data point belongs to which cluster. Okay, so from this picture it is clearly visible that there is 4 different cluster centers are present. Okay, and what are those cluster centers, or the level of the clusters are 1, 0, 1, 2, 3 for each of these data points. So for example, if I again on this and run this, then for first point or the last point here which belongs to the cluster 2, second last point which belongs to cluster 3, the third last point belongs to cluster 0. So these are another examples of creating the data points where you have Swiss roll data set. This is the Swiss roll data set where you have 3 different clusters. Okay, determining the number, as I said, remember the as per my presentation that how you can determine the cluster center, because the number of cluster centers, as I already explained, that if you choose wrong number of cluster, then it will give you wrong representations of the data sets. So how you can do that, as I said, by using this WCSS method, within cluster sum of square. So how you can calculate that? So by using this, so where I have used 10 runs, okay, 10 times I run the algorithm, k-mean algorithm with different parameter with that means the number of cluster here, that is I, okay. One first time it is 1, second time it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and this 1 to 11, that means 1 and less than 11, that means up to 10, okay. So this way it will run. Other parameter are not mentioned here, so that means the default value will be considered. How you can see that whether what default value has been considered? You just first all the output I have to, yeah, so just see the algorithm is run, but and you have this output, okay. I will explain one by one. So you have this output, but uh, what is the parameter you have that algorithm accepted? If you print this value came in, then this will show one iteration. For one iteration, this will show for second iteration, like this way, and you can see the default value of each of these parameter, okay. So maximum iteration 300, number of cluster 1, number of cluster 2, initialize to 2, okay. So like this way you can, and always the initialization method is k-mean plus plus, okay. So if you want to specify a particular k-mean clustering k-mean initialization method, so see in the parameter here, say k-mean plus plus random, you want to use random, say just for example. So what you have to do, you have to specify something like this, and instead of k-mean plus plus, use write random, and then run the algorithm. Then see, every time it uses random instead of k-mean plus plus. You can also customize sometimes if you want to use random, sometimes if you want to k-mean clustering and want to see the output, then you can also write the code accordingly and can be you can get the output like that way, okay. So next thing is this B. So now you have the data set X. What is X? X is this one, this 300 by 2 data set. See, I have X and Y is the level and X is the data set. So I need to use this data set to run the algorithm, okay. So to test the algorithm. Fit is testing how fit the algorithm is as per the data set is concerned, okay. So how you can find this methods detail? Go bottom of that page, scroll down slowly, and then you can find different methods are available here, okay. Fit is compute the k-mean clustering algorithm for a particular data set. Fit predict is so there is another method called predict. Yeah, this one will be used to predict the closest cluster. So this will help you to predict this cluster data point X cluster like this way, okay. Now if you want to combine this fit and predict together, you have fit predict function, which will at the same time which will run and predict a particular point belongs to each cluster, okay. So like this way you can individually either use fit and predict separately or fit predict together. Similarly, fit and transform separately or fit transform together. So this each of these function has their own requirement. Here I have used fit and predict these two methods to show you how you can run a particular algorithm to fit in a particular data set and see the how much data set the algorithm fit on the data set, okay. And for the predict, you have to test whether a particular new data set belongs to which particular cluster, okay. So let's see here. So each time this algorithm will generate an inertia, okay. So that is inertia, that means look at this place, in this page type search here inertia, okay, and underscore. So see here, it will give you some square distance of sample to their closest cluster center. So that you can find it from this WCSS. So this gives you the value, the sum of square, this one. So you have to calculate the combined sum of all the combined sum of all the cluster. So this WCSS value which has been assigned here at the beginning is null, and then it appends one by one. And if you want to see the value, then you can run it and see. Sorry, I must comment this one because these are not needed now. Now try to run it again and see how this WCSS value has been reduced one by one. So at the beginning it was almost 3000, then it is almost 1200, then it is 500, then 200, then 100, 170, 150, 140, 125, and then 110. Like this way it reduces. So if you plot this value, okay, in the graph, so see, it is at the beginning it is almost 300 and at the end it is 114, okay. So this one. So if you see the nature of the curve, you can see that at this point, or at this point is also not true, this point, at this point, so at when the cluster number is 4, after this, so that means 1 2 3 4, so after this the number reduces slowly, but here it is after 3000 it is sharply go down to 1200, and then again after 1200 it sharply go down to 500. So it's a huge jump. But after the fourth iteration, see here only 20, 30 or 10 values have been reduced. So you can consider 4 as the cluster center. Number of clusters you maybe is a good for this kind of data set, okay. Anything else here to explain? Okay. So now how to build the model? Now you know which parameter you need to use for this kind of data set, and now you assign those value here and build the model, and that is k-mean model will be created for this particular data set. Now see the training of the model and predicting the class level of the data point. So now you have created the model, that is k-mean underscore model, and now you have to use the fit method or the predict method. Like here I have used fit method, see, fitting the x into the database, into the algorithm, and here I have used fit predict. So that means checking whether how much it is fit and predict whether this x belongs to which cluster. So now this method will return, see the algorithm, see the web page for this particular method, fit predict, okay. It returns label. So the output here pred y will give you the label value, that this point x belongs to which clusters, okay. So if you run this, so see, this will show you the clusters, this is the output of that pred y. So that means which data point belongs to which cluster, okay. And if you plot this in a scatter plot along with the data, then you can see that these red points are the cluster centers, or the maybe represents the cluster, and the surrounding points represents the member of that cluster, okay. Now this model has been created. Now you want to use that model for later purpose. So now you have a set of data like 20 students here in this class, and I have created 3 clusters with these methods came in, and now I have 3 clusters representing India, Indonesia and Malaysia. Now one more student join this class, and my task is to predict that the students belongs to which group. whether it is India, Indonesia or Malaysia, belongs to which country. Okay. So for that, so cluster centers, you can find it, the cluster centers, by using this, I forgot to mention this one. So this is the cluster underscore center underscore, gives you the cluster center. So how you can find this one, that how you can do that, go to that page, search it in the page, and then you can find it here. Okay, this one, that coordinates of the cluster center, if the algorithm stops before fully converging, those will not be consistent with labels. Okay. So okay, let's just finish it with this prediction. So I have these two data points, okay, 0 0 and 12 13. So these two data points I need to predict. And how to do that? So first, create an array with these two data points. So test data 1, and I pass the data set like in the example I said, in the data set. So predict, where is the predict method here? So here see predict x, and what is the output in this case? The return is the level. So it will show you that, so if you run this, it will give you the level, pred level, and pred level is 0 0. Okay, so that means both of these point belongs to the 0th cluster, that is here. Okay, I forgot to say one more thing, that after this class I will give you a set of assignment, and that is the assignment for my class. Okay, you have to solve those set of assignments, and you have to submit it in the Google Classroom, and that will be used for evaluation.